versus. This is Crowkeeper Studios in Sacramento. I'm your engineer, Fiorin, and today we're going to be listening to the 6505 versus a Valveking with a boost. If you're new to this page, then you don't know just yet, but I'm an engineer that records rock and heavy metal. I'm an engineer of 17 years, and I like to focus on classic production, real amps and cabs, and drums without any samples. No triggers, just raw dog in it. So, here we go. I have the 6505, and that was running through a Bogner Uber cab, and I was using a AKG C414 for that, and the Valveking was being boosted by a Mesa Boogie Flux drive. I've shot this video in two different pieces. Yesterday I did all the filming for tracking the guitars, and I did the drums. After I was done with that, I didn't really feel like that would be a perfect or, as good of a representation of what it would sound like in a full mix, because the drums were pretty raw and the guitar tone was just the guitar tone. I just dialed it in, did a little bit of post EQ, not too much, and that was it. So today I tracked the bass and actually gave it a mix, and that's what you're going to hear later at the end of this video. So stick around and you will get to hear some dialing in and the entire process. So here we go. I'm going to make up a couple simple riffs and, a little chorusy riff, and then maybe something a little tiny bit more complicated. But we'll see how it kind of pans out. And I'll double track them, and we'll just see what they sound like and how they compare. Now, I've already dialed in the 6505. The Uber cab is a bit of a darker cab. It has two V30s and two G12 T75s, and it sounds incredible. It's a great cab. It works with damn near anything, but it does mean I have to kind of boost the high end quite a lot in order to get the crispness that I want to come out of the cab. So the high end is boosted quite a bit, and the low end is kind of pulled back a bit in order to make it sound, record ready, I suppose. So let's just see what we can do here. Okay, so I'm going to track something for the first half. Okay, I think these two should be close together. Okay, so let's hear the whole piece, and then I'm going to redo it again using the Valveking. We're back, and now we're using the Valveking, and we're going to boost it. So I have the gain on this Mesa Boogie Flux drive at 9 o'clock, I have the treble maybe somewhere around 2, and the bass around 10. And I'm just going to turn up the volume on the level until I get the amount of saturation I want. On the amp, I have the saturation, I have the gain at noon, so, it's just moderate. Maybe a little bit more. I'm barely moving the knob at all, really. It's not even a 16th of a turn. Okay, so I have the amount of gain I think I want. Now I'm just going to EQ a little bit just to tailor the taste, but everything is at noon right now. It's a little bit bright, but it may not actually sound that bright once I double track it. But I will still bring down the presence a little bit and see what happens. So I think we have a pretty good tone. The treble is set to 3 o'clock. The middle is set to 3 o'clock. The bass is set to noon. The resonance is set all the way to max. And the presence is all the way minimal. So let me retract these things and kind of see how it goes. I think that it sounds still a little bit bright, but I don't think it will sound that bright once I add both guitars. So let's just wing it and find out. Okay, so now I'm going to add the second guitar. But one thing I can notice right out the gate is there is a lot more of that kind of gentler, scratchier pick attack coming through. Okay, finally, I'm going to add the lead. So we're now into day 2, and we're going to listen to the comparison, the 6505 in a full mix, and the Valveking with the boost in the full mix. So here we go. Here is the 6505. And now we're going to hear the Valveking. Okay, so we're also going to hear these leads before I put any comment in. We're going to listen to the leads one by one. And we'll start with the 6505. So we're hearing the bass and the lead. And now the Valveking. Okay, so in case anybody's wondering, these volumes are pretty much volume equivalent on an average level, but the difference is that the Valveking is a bit grindier up top than is the 6505. Now, that's probably because of the boost, but nonetheless, I mean, this is the comparison that we're working with. It is a little bit blurrier, in my opinion, when I do the when I do the tremolos picking, but on the vast majority of it, it sounds, in my opinion, a bit clearer. Let's hear some of that rattiness again. Pay attention when I'm doing the tremolo picking with the double bass on the Valveking, and then I'm going to flip it back to the 6505, and you'll be able to hear the difference. now the 6505. Now, here's what I would say. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, but here's what I would say. The 6505, when I'm just listening to it like this, it sounds clearer, cleaner, but not necessarily in the context of the full mix. I think that the Valveking stands out more. In just a better way that's more pleasing in the total mix. But I think individually it doesn't sound quite as clear, especially on these down chugs. Versus this sounds a little bit muddier, but yet the rest of the guitar feels just clearer. So, there you go. There's a pretty big difference in my opinion. I tried to dial them in to get them pretty close, but the reality is, and a lot of people will do some fuckery, honestly, to try to make it seem like any amps are the same, because you can get them specifically dialed in to sound very close together. Or fairly close together. Different amps don't sound the fucking same. It just doesn't react the same. And the values in terms of frequencies on each knob on the same, on a different amp, the lows change a different set of frequencies on one amp than it does the other amp. So even if they all sounded the same at noon, it completely doesn't fucking matter anymore, because the moment that you start dialing them in, the amps just don't sound anything alike. Now, even here where I was trying to dial them in pretty close together, they don't sound the same. They don't sound the same within the mix. They don't sound the same in the room. And I think that, there's an appreciable difference between the two. Personally, I think they both sound great. I would hesitate not even at all to do the Valveking, especially on stuff that is single note runs, because I feel like the single note riffing, even if it was crazy like Tech Death, it still stands out clearer, in my opinion, than the 6505. What the 6505 has over the Valveking is when you do those lower palm mutes, it stays a little bit more intact, whereas the Valveking sounds a little bit almost like it's too saturated. And mind you, I tried to go for the roughly the same amount of overall gain. To the hand, it felt about the same, and for the vast majority of parts, it felt about the same. Now, I could probably use something like a compressor pedal before any of this stuff on the Valveking, and that would maybe even things out and keep that chuggy parts, a little bit more in line with the clean runs, like the single note runs. But I don't really think it fucking matters, because I think it still sounds good as fuck. So yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, let's listen to it just one more time, because, we like listening to fucking music. That's what we like doing. So I'll do it in reverse. I'm going to do the Valveking, and then I'm going to do the 6505, and you guys let me know what you think. So there it is. So there you go. After listening to it again, my overall opinion is the Valveking sounds a bit more aggressive, and it cuts through the mix a bit better. But it's any amount of post EQ on the 6505 would do the same thing. And if we're only using just one without any boosts or anything, the 6505 I think is going to win this battle. But I think just having a $100 pedal is going to make a massive difference. It definitely added a ton of aggression to the Valveking, and it sounds fucking good as hell. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think, man.